different front, Angel. Could it be that Macron found it easier to work with President Ruto because he has portrayed himself to be, I mean, earlier on, people have started calling him the puppet of the West. You look at how he has managed our international relations with Sudan, his pronouncements on Congo. They've always been off the majority of the African position. And when he's out there, he's trying to position himself as the speaker, in quotes, of the African continent. So he's more malleable, likable, usable by them, unlike people who will be seen as antagonists of the West or the former colonies of the African continent. Could there be a possibility that the alliance is based perhaps on their shared ideology, which is still very colonial in my opinion, and that President Ruto has not come out as very progressive in terms of the modern times we are living in, despite the historical injustices Casmuel mentions, which I agree with. We are in a modern era. We have a new constitution that we gave birth to as a country. But President Ruto was not even able to defend that the other day when he went to Tanzania, and the Tanzanian president was saying you should deal with people like you, because both of you are still in a revolution. The former Casmuel, not this one. The former Casmuel and yourself were casualties or victims of what President Suluhu was talking about. And I think the only thing President Ruto needed to do was to say, in Kenya, we have a constitution that provides certain rights for people to agitate, and we have a democracy that is totally different. He could not defend that. Could that be one of the reasons where he's been found more likable, more usable, and easily be used to penetrate the rest of Africa? Because even in business, Kenya is the hub of Africa. Yes. You plug in well, you're able to penetrate the rest of the continent. Yes, I think that your quote for next week should be a Swahili one saying, akili ni nywele kila mtu ana zake. Right. But wakisikiza Casmuel najua wanapigwa na butwa.
I understand, but it's not lost on me that Angel has relaxed her hair. It shows that akili yake nayo is inspired by things that are not hers.
But let's not... foreign.
Yes.
Like the French.
We know my foreign. Stories are jabba.
Yeah, it's as natural as it comes. It's mine. So, and let's not misinform our audience. Casmuel, Liberia was not the first country to gain independence in Africa. It was Ghana in 1957.
I'm saying.
It has never been colonized. It was a state.
It was a free state.
Yeah. I think, let's not misadvise our audience. And coming to what you're painting a picture of William Ruto, I just highlighted who Macron is analyzed by psychologists from across the world. Someone with an interstellar ego, someone who takes very little advice, someone who admires planet Jupiter, and he thinks that he is planet Jupiter and all other planets should be dwarfed around him. That's the personality of Macron. And the people of the French describe the French government as lazy and greedy. So even when we're talking about the French people are totally distanced from this conversation and this engagement. So as we describe the people of Kenya and the government of Kenya, two different people. And when you hear terms like G to G, that is where the scam is. When you hear things like B2B, when you hear PPP, hiyo unajua deal imeivana. Hiyo deal imeivana. Nairobians wanasemanga hiyo ni kipindi rei. Deal iko fresh. Because when William Ruto looks at Kenya, we do not have minerals, we don't have gold and oil.
We are not heavy. Inform yourself on the country.
As a country like Ghana, and at such deposits. And when William Ruto looks at wealthy people from West African nations, there's a very huge problem in West Africa where the rich and the poor, the gap is like 1 kilometer, 100 kilometers, like Kisumu and Mombasa. There is no middle class as you would have it here in Kenya, where former President Mwai Kibaki tried as much as possible to level out our society and give birth to the middle class. That is not present in West African countries. Renting a home in a West African country is difficult. You need to pay a lease of 1 year up front You can imagine what that does to the young people of West African nations. You have to live with your parents typically until you get married, or until you can raise 1 year worth of rent, and that is for a basic accommodation. For accommodation that is good and quality in a reasonable area in the city where you can have access to opportunities, you have to pay as much as 2 years of upfront rent, same rate as what we have here in Kenya. And here in Kenya, it's easier because you can do monthly payments. As you make your money, you go. So in West Africa, it is characterized by heavy, rich versus poor people in West African nations. And so when William Ruto looks at those nations and the wealthy people around there, he thinks to himself that the best thing I can have is land. So what do? I introduce something called PPP, public-private partnerships. But the P in private is Ruto. It is now an RPP, and I hope Kenyans are very clear and understand that PPP is no longer the private public. It's Ruto public partnerships.
Well, it's not the first time that PPPs are being used in Kenya, Angel. I mean, they've been a method for this development for a very long time.
For this regime, it is quite different. And when you're talking about previous regimes that have had partnerships, we have had UK summit, we have had US summit, but this regime has turned the private to Ruto. When we're talking about a nuclear plant in Siaya, that nuclear plant, the private person that is going to conduct that engagement is Ruto. We saw that with Chan and the insurance scheme that you published on the front page of the Standard. And you said that the reinsurance company that was insuring the tournament was a private individual who had only been registered as a business for 40 days. And they transacted millions of shillings from the Kenyan government. The private in PPP